And this is about the time that's Katie. And yeah, probably about that fall before we really know what's going on. She would chew her tongue like it was bubble gum, and it got so swollen she had to be hospitalized and be put on IV liquids just to hydrate her and medicine to take care of the swelling. And this is just crazy. You look at that little baby face, she seems perfectly normal, yet there's just that sinking feeling. Something is going on. Our pediatrician did some testing, and everything came back normal. We couldn't figure this out. So finally, we get sent to a neurologist. He takes a safety pin, and he has me undress her to her diaper, and he puts it deeply into her skin on her back, her front, her legs, her hands, her feet. Little Katie's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, don't do this to your sister. And Steve and I were just dumbfounded. And then he takes a Q-tip, twists it a little, I think he stuck it in saline, and he starts touching her eye. And she does not blink. And he gives us this strange term. Congenital insensitivity to pain. She has it with anhidrosis, which means she doesn't sweat, which is a whole host of stuff we don't have time for. She can't feel pain anywhere, including her corneas. She is in extreme danger of severely hurting herself and going blind. And she's 6 months, and it's almost Christmas. And here's a little baby. It's extremely rare. We know now probably about 200 cases. They told us then maybe 3 to 10. What were we going to do? How do you keep a little baby safe that's supposed to learn to crawl and walk and learn and touch? And you know babies, they put everything in their mouth. And now we can't let her because she'll chew it, she'll break it, she'll hurt her mouth, she'll hurt her teeth. We really felt all alone at that point. There was no other person to ask, what can we expect? What is going to happen to our little baby? And that doctor had said that her life expectancy might be about 3 years. I couldn't believe it. This was not, God does not give you that beautiful life and then take it away in 3 years. So what did we do? We came to church, prayed a lot. We relied on our faith family here because our families were so far away in Michigan. And I really did feel those weekly repetition of prayers, the same prayers, the Nicene Creed, just that repetition and the calmness of coming to Mass. Usually, if there wasn't crying and, all that jazz that babies are known to do, it was a comfort to me even then. But that very first Christmas, we ended up in the hospital again, of course. She bit something, I think, or hurt something. And I cried myself to sleep saying, why would God do this? Why would he give us this beautiful little baby and then have no hope? So it was kind of managing, when she was 6 months to about 3 years, we went from managing one major disaster injury after another. We pulled her baby teeth thinking she would, stop biting and hurting her hands, killing toys. Then she started scratching her eyes. Well, the corneas got severely damaged. She is noticing her vision changing. That meant weekly visits to the U with this little other preschool, poor little Katie gets tugged along, practically hour drive there, hour drive back. And there's not much they can recommend. They sew her eyelids shut. But what would a little baby do who can't feel it? She literally pulled them open with her thumbs or fingers. The second you turned your back. And Steve had to work. We needed insurance at this point. And it felt like I was tied to her, watching her every second. And we were just stymied. What are we going to do? We know the eyes are so important to growing and learning and seeing your world, seeing your family. And now we find out in the fall of 2000, here's little Katie ready to start kindergarten. Here's little baby going to the hospital. We don't know what is wrong. She's had this come and go fever. She has a little bump on her face. We get her down to Children's. well, this doesn't seem right. Let's take a little blood work. And they go away, not too concerned. You know, the rooms are all full of other crying babies and families. They come running with about a team of 10 people back to us. That is never a good sign when they come with that many people. Turns out she had a terrible bone infection. Her bone had actually turned to mush, and it started leaching the bone out of her jaw. They had to put in a titanium plate. I think we were in the hospital 10 days, 2 weeks, somewhere there. And poor Katie's starting kindergarten. And I am crying because I cannot be with 2 kids at once. Luckily, friends from church picked my mom up from the airport. You know, things do work out. But it was that support that just kind of pulled together for us that would get us through. So the osteomyelitis is the bone infection, and we put a titanium plate in. Now she's supposed to have a little PICC line, which is kind of like an IV you can go home with, in. And they want it in many, many weeks, if not months. First one lasts 3 or 4 weeks. They throw another one in there, and that rarely ever works. We got it to work. That one lasted maybe another 2 weeks, and they're like, fine, this kid can't feel it. She's going to rip it out. We go on oral, but it works. Now the jaw is healing. Oh, phew, okay. We're home again. We're managing. And they're able to take the plate out the next spring. But now it's her vision. What are we going to do? The poor little girl has no vision left in her left eye. She has poor vision in her right eye. Steve was saying, what about swim goggles? What if we put swim goggles on her? And the doctors at the U, oh, that'll never work. It'll feel like a punishment. You won't get it. Luckily, Steve is not a good listener. He doesn't always believe what he hears. He ran to the shop, got some goggles. Within a few weeks, we were getting her to wear those. There was definite improvement, and she wasn't damaging them anymore, but they were still so damaged. We worried. She seemed like this bright little person trying to get out, and how would she get to school if she couldn't see? So we prayed, and we prayed, and you just keep surviving like you do sometimes with families. We needed a miracle. We kind of got it. The first one, believe it or not, National Enquirer, Steve's aunt, we're on vacation in Michigan, comes running to us. You've got to read this article. The National Enquirer, Aunt Phyllis, are you kidding? No, it's this doctor in Boston who's been working with people who have terribly injured or diseased corneas. And people go from needing seeing eye docs to being able to drive. Wow, that sounds amazing, Aunt Phyllis, but the National Enquirer, we'll look into it. So we go home to Minnesota. I get a phone call, I don't know, days, a couple weeks later, because now I'm busy, we're back, we got life. Have you seen Oprah? No, I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep my kid alive. What about Oprah? There's this doctor from Boston. He works with people with bad corneas. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I think God is talking to us. I think we need to look into this. And we do. And it is absolutely the miracle we're looking for. Steve's coworkers were so kind. They donated a lot of vacation time. We spent 2 weeks out there, and it was not an easy 2 weeks. First day, we end up in the hospital in Boston. She's dehydrated and sick, but it was just the normal one. And we work with these amazing people out there, and they are able to create a contact lens that basically works as a beautiful cornea. And the key to it is it keeps liquid in the lens. It's a big fat lens. It looks kind of bigger than a regular soft contact. And when you put it on the eye, it clears the imperfections with that liquid. And Steve is brilliant. He said, it's like a fish tank. You look through the fish tank at the top, you really can't see much. The water's all wiggly and everything. You look through the glass. That is what that cornea, that new lens was to her. It was clearer vision, almost immediately. And it wasn't an easy thing because she can't feel pain. She couldn't tell us, oh, this feels great, looks great. We just kind of had to do trial and error. But within 2 weeks, we were pretty excited. We were sent home. And then we come to church. So happy to be home, see Katie again. And we're kneeling in the front, of course, because anybody with visual impairment will tell you it's better to be closer to the action than further away. And we always sat up front. And I'm kneeling, I'm coming in, doing my kneeling. Mom, what, Gabby? That's Jesus' mom. She's holding him. She saw the stained glass window in Big Lake, and she could see the picture. She'd never seen it before, never articulated it to me before. And that, right there, Steve and I looked and were like, that's a pretty clear miracle. And how beautiful that she should put it into words for us, right there at church. And we would have been happy, seriously, with that one miracle. But we kept getting signs that her vision was not only improved from the lens, her eyes were actually healing. When we would go to other exams, we could see the change in her eye. When she would go into her little preschool classroom, I took her to early childhood, she ran in the classroom, she said, there's a clock, there's a rainbow. And she could now tell boys from girls. Whereas before, it had been very difficult for her to even distinguish little boys from little girls. And we were thrilled. And that's a picture of her in park in Boston. There's a little statue of the Make Way for Ducklings book, and she loved them. And that's the amazing Dr. Perry Rosenthal. He's now deceased. But the Boston Foundation for Sight is still there. Everybody needs it. Of course, Gabby's life is generally one of accident to accident, trauma to trauma. She has had broken wrist, broken foot, sprained ankles. I can't even tell you how many hospitalizations. And one day her entire cheek, like a golf ball, was in it. Like, what is going on? Oh, turns out, yep, another infection, needs surgery. And lost more teeth as years went on, just they weren't. She never realized if anything got loose. And by the time she would get sick, it was because she doesn't feel pain, she would get really, really sick before you would notice. So almost every time something happened, it ended up in hospital. But despite all that, I don't know if any of you know her. Barb knows her. She is what Father Gino calls a little spitfire. One day at Mass, she told him I sucked the joy out of life because I wouldn't let her do something. And then she tried to sneak communion about 2 weeks before her first communion. And I stopped the deacon at that point. No, don't reward her. And he's like, but she wants Jesus' body. I said, yes, but she knows better. She knows in 2 weeks she's making communion. But she's kept that same joy about her throughout it all. And that is just the most refreshing thing, to see somebody who should or could feel sorry for themselves, could feel despondent, could feel like they want to hide in the room. That's not her at all. And so if you meet her, ask her about animals or tell her your favorite animal. That is one of her absolute passions. But of course, because it's Gabby and life is difficult for her, in 2012, her pediatrician found out her back was broken in her lower spine. And of course, sent to Gillette. Of course, we've met these people before, thank goodness. And they need to surgically fuse her spine, that lower portion of it. And Steve's looking at the hardware, he said, these look like deck screws. That's what had to hold her together, to keep her from pulling it apart. She would never feel the pain of it loosening. But of course, they go up a little higher than they need, thinking this will do the job. No, she pulls them loose. Next spring of 2014, they have to go in and take out the top supports because they're already loose and they're hitting her nerve in her spine. And that would be bad. December of that year. Make it through most of the year. Pretty good year. She's a freshman in high school. Her sister's a senior. And she seems a little off, and we take her in, and they said, oh, I think it's just her hip. Maybe the muscle pulled away from it. That's why she's not so steady and not feeling so good. It'll heal in 2 weeks. No, 2 weeks came and went. We're back at the hospital. And it turns out her back was extremely badly broken again. All the hardware was loose. They needed emergency surgery that week. She left her freshman year on December 11th and never made it back. And they did, I think we were into almost Christmas. And then she is sent home for 3 months of strict bed rest with me. And the whole time, she's doing her schoolwork. Her teachers are coming to the house when they can. She's getting some homeschooling services through the school, like they send teachers. And she's just trying to plug away, trying to keep going, trying to keep going. And people are like, how do you stand it? I'm like, how do I stand it? She's got to lay in her bed. If I can't, if she can do it, I can do it. She was my inspiration. But after April 2015, we go back in, something's wrong again. He said, well, better prepare for life in a wheelchair. And he said it with all of us in the room, and Gabby starts crying. And he gets angry at her. Now I'm angry at him. Really? You're going to give up on this sweet, beautiful soul and then be angry at her for being sad about it? No, now Steve and I are mad. We pack up and get out of there. And we pray. And we listen. But, there's that little bit of worry. What do we do? But we can't fall apart. Katie's getting ready to graduate. We've got a big graduation party planned. But we also need another miracle. We need a second opinion. Wait a minute. What's that beautiful hospital just another hour past Gillette? World famous? Mayo Clinic. I did everything I could within 2 weeks to get every record, every picture of her back down there. And we got in for a consult. They had a pediatric spine specialist and an adult spine specialist, and they laid it out for her. Gabby, this stinks. Your back is in bad shape. We have a plan for 3 major surgeries, and the worst part is you need to be in the hospital 6 months minimum. We're not letting you go. Really? Her friends are getting driver's ed. They're planning summer trips and getting new jobs. And you just tell her, not only does she not get to go back to school, she's got to go back to a hospital. And to add insult to injury, they want to do the first surgery the day after her 15th birthday. But the whole time, their demeanor is, Gabby, we want to fight for you. We believe in you. We believe that we have better tools and better ideas to help your back. We want a chance for you. And Steve and I immediately realized that is the power of God. That's our prayers being answered. But it was so hard for her to be so far from home. How can your friends come visit when you're 2.5 hours away? How can you do school? If you can't move out of a bed, they want you to lay in your bed day after day. You don't get up and go to the bathroom. You lay in that bed to heal. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. It gets long. And she's a little bit depressed about it, but we still feel this is the best path for her. But again, still praying. Is it the best path? You just always kind of worrying about it, but we just moved down there and they did the first surgery and found out everything had been infected. That hardware from all the prior surgeries. Just getting that out of there and curing the infection would be a good start. And she handles that pretty well. But here's the chapel. I found a chapel at Mayo. That's hilarious because that doesn't even give you the full perspective. That chapel is like bigger than the church. It's beautiful. And it is serene. It's just a lovely place to pray. I hope you don't have to, but if you get the chance just to go visit, it is beautiful. But we did feel pretty divided. Here's Steve trying to work, trying to help Katie. She's working, she's marching in her band, she's trying to get ready for college, and there Gabby and I are 2.5 hours away, and they're getting there as much as they can. But now we really have to rely on our faith and these amazing people. Oh, sorry, I couldn't put that word. And Gabby, pouty 15-year-old teenager. Now it's all of a sudden, these are really nice people coming to visit her, caring for her every day. Wait a minute, you like cats? Really? Do you have little kids? Show her pictures. Now, it's just her personality to get involved with these people, to be drawn out of her misery, and to just enjoy meeting these new people. And the more I saw that, I thought, wow, she is a great kid. Wow, I hope I had a little bit to do with it. So now we're talking second surgery. It's a biggie. They need a trauma surgeon to come in and just move her organs, break her rib, slide things out of the way so the surgeons have a chance to fix that spine. And Steve has a second job. He's had to. I've had to be home with Gabby for months and months. We need some help. It's fine, dear. I've got this. Go do the second job. And, you know, we've had family and friends visit. We'll make it. But of course, being Gabby, there's got to be complications. It's 12-plus hour surgery. I let her go at about 7:30 that morning. I'm still waiting at 11 at night to see her. I fall asleep in the ICU waiting for her to come back. And the doctor comes back and says, I don't know what happened. Everything looks good, but she can't move her left side. It's okay. I don't know why. I felt it would be okay. And the poor doctor, she's 8 months pregnant at that time, sweetest lady. And she was just really worried. So then I didn't let her see I was worried, but I did hit that chapel. And I prayed. And that very night of that surgery, I just felt a peace come over me. And I was thanking God, why are you putting her through this? And I'm like, am I doing the right thing by putting her through this? And I felt this presence say, have faith. I didn't say it would be easy. I said you must have faith. And I really heard that. And even after she developed pneumonia and needed these crazy medications to increase her blood pressure, that would never, when you're on those, you can't leave the ICU. But what it did is it helped increase the blood flow through the spine and through all those extremities. Sure enough, a little bit day by day, she is gaining strength on that left side. And now, I've heard that. I've heard something in that chapel. And I've got to remember, okay, it's not a sprint. This is a marathon. I just got to have faith in you at the time. And so really, after that night and after that second surgery, I didn't really doubt we would see an end to it. And I will admit, some days were horrendous. You're sitting there in a hospital. People are coming and going, and you're still there. And we were held up by the prayer of people here. Almost every single day in that hospital, some sort of mail came from Area of Visitation. And even if Gabby couldn't see it and enjoy it, if she was having a terrible day, I saw it. It held me up. And that, I hope, held her up too. She'll say it didn't. She'll say she was sick of me. So now, it's November. That's 6 months. June, July, August, September, October, November. She's been laying there 6 months. Now she can't eat. First off, I will tell you, the Mayo's an amazing hospital. Their food stinks. We joke that they make it super healthy, so you just want to get out of there. And she couldn't eat. And so they decided, you know what? Her bones are starting to heal. Let's make this brace. And some of you might remember her coming back to church. It kind of supported her neck all the way down. And they said, all right, we're going to teach her how to sit up little bit by little bit by little bit. And at first it was agonizing. She could only do 30 seconds, maybe a minute. But then pretty soon it's 10 minutes. Okay, a few more days, it's a little longer. A friend comes to visit, 45 minutes sitting up and playing apples to apples. Wow, this is really good. And they do x-rays in the brace, like, you can move on, you can move on. All right, we're going to put weight on those feet. She had to teach herself how to stand and walk again. And it works. She starts really making progress at that point. And now, not only can she stand, she takes her first steps with a walker in January. And we're cleared for PT. 2 weeks, they put her through an intense regimen of workouts every day. Occupational therapy followed by physical therapy. Occupational therapy, physical therapy. They want her to be able to move safely with a walker. They want her to be able to get to the bathroom back and forth on her own with some assistance from mom. But they are working to give her life back. And it works. 8 months. Well, maybe 3 days shy of 8 months. We get to come home. But of course, her journey is really not over. She's not back at school yet. We have to go to PT twice a week. She does it fabulously, and is so motivated because she wants to get rid of me. Her goal was to get back to school, and in April
of 2016, after over a year and a half practically of never stepping foot into school, she is the happiest kid to hit Big Lake High School you ever saw. The teachers literally fought over her because she was the only happy kid in the campus. Because by April, you know, your kids are like, oh, is this year over? She was excited to be there and learn. And she finished that year. And so then I prayed, God, let us have a great junior year. If she just gets one great year, I'll be so happy. Well, she had a great year. Now I'm getting greedy. Now I want a little more. God has given us these amazing miracles. She's fought so hard, she needs more. Last June, she graduated with her class on time, not missing one credit, except she was exempted for PE, and we counted her physical therapy though. And she just recently finished her first semester at the University of Minnesota Morris with a 3.7 GPA. Her love of animals, still super strong. She, environmental studies, may be going into policy, making laws. She does not want people to ever own wild animals as pets. And if you ever want to talk to her, you don't get her going on that. She'll go longer than I did tonight. But we don't feel, we know these were miracles placed in our life. And I just want to tell you, the first one was pretty strong. I mean, you get hit over the head with National Enquirer and Oprah. That was pretty clear. The second one was so much harder, but so worth it for our family, because she has her future, and we're empty nesters now. So thank you so very much, Phil, and for Barb, and for all of you for letting us speak about real miracles. So please don't doubt. They're all around us. You probably have one closer to your home than you realize too. But God really does change lives. He really does work through prayer. Sometimes we're just too busy to hear. And that was the one thing I'll never forget about Mayo when I came home. Those times spent in the chapel were life-changing and really affirming of my faith. And I hope you don't need that kind of miracle, but know that God does provide them. He really does. Any questions real quick? I think, would I have about 5 minutes before I should zip over there?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know if you guys have any. Because there's a lot left out of the story.
First time she did it was 45 minutes.
Yeah, so he cut me down quite a bit. But if you have any, we would be happy to answer them.
When did you go on Oprah?
2005 was her first visit there, and then Oprah did a Where Are They Now before her back broke. And so if you see her walking in church today and go back and watch that more recent Oprah, it is a little heartbreaking because that's the mobility she had, but we're still thrilled with the mobility she has now. But 2005 was the first one. She doesn't remember it.
And you guys were on Care 11, right?
She was on Care 11 more recently. I didn't even get into that whole thing. She's actually having surgery Monday to, because of that osteomyelitis back in 2002, there was hardly any bone left in here, and the years have taken their toll. And the only option for her now is real dental implants. And of course, nobody in the world wants to touch her except Mayo. So Monday, they're going in and trying to build up the bone here. She basically, her sinuses were kind of sitting kind of on the top of her mouth, and they need to build bone and structure in there to be able to hold some teeth. So yeah, she was on last spring.
But that's in the very beginning.
Oh, in the very beginning. That was, you're right, sorry, 2003.
So we're on Care
No,
11. And
2004.
that came from a story of one of the parishioners wrote a little article in a little local paper
The
that got
West Sherburne.
seen by a Care 11 producer who brought it to Boyd Hooper, who put us on, and that won an Emmy, but that introduced us to the rest of the world. And we talked early on about how there was only 3 people, and they said they were in China, so we'll never meet them. After we were on Care 11, we started a foundation. We started meeting families, and we started a foundation, and that's where we have over 200 families around the world that are part of the foundation, which I argued was another miracle that you just didn't want to make it
Well,
too long.
it is, but I wanted to keep the big miracles.
Yeah, so we started this foundation, and we're helping over 200 families around the world now, just to talk to each other, have someone that you can ask questions about, someone that's lived this already and knows what works and what doesn't. And so that's how we're trying to give back also. And we've had families tell us that if it wasn't for you guys, my daughter or myself wouldn't be alive right now.
And the nice thing is now medical people believe you. one of the first other families we met on the East Coast. Her 2 daughters had been taken away from her for a 2-night because her daughter broke her leg on a playground, her younger one, spiral break on the playground, and then they talked to the EMS guy, and they said, oh no, this kid, her foot was pointing this way, and she was happy as can be. This is not an abuse situation, there's something going on. So just to know that more people know of it and know it's real has been amazing, especially for young kids who might be diagnosed in young families.
So they don't have any cures for. so they
If
can
you ask
feel-
Gabby,
so
she
they
says
can
she's
feel-
not broken, she doesn't want to be fixed.
No, but I mean, so they can feel pain again at all?
Well, if you think about it, I don't know, could she handle that now?
Yeah.
Because her body is, we joke, but it is kind of like an 80-year-old person's. I imagine by the time she's 40, she may have to be in a wheelchair, just because when you don't feel the pressure on bones and joints, and there's gonna be long-term damage. So
To
I
answer
don't
the
know.
question, yeah, there is no cure for it.
Yeah, not now.
Someday they might have some gene therapy, but we've also had some genetic studies done, and Gabby is her own little version of this extremely rare condition. So,
I think we better hustle
We gotta
over to
run.
Big Lake.
thank you.
E-E-N. Gangrene.
Incorrect.
The spelling for gangrene is Gangrene. This word has a homonym. The word is cavil, verb, to object or criticize for silly reasons. Even if Tracy's room is spotlessly clean, she knows that her mom will cavil at something about